Thank you everybody for joining us today. We're at a workshop where we're going to be discussing cholesterol facts. We hope to give you some new understanding about cholesterol and how it is an essential component to life. So our schedule is going to be as follows. We're going to tell you a little about who we are. We want to know a little bit about who you are. We're going to talk about 3 cholesterol myths, determine if they're myths or facts. We're going to define some terms. We're going to go over cholesterol ratios, and then we're going to do a little round robin game of eat this, not that. At the end, we'll have time for questions. So without further ado, let's roll on. So we are the 20 and Tested campaign. We're basically campaigning to all the millennials of the world the importance of cholesterol. Guided by new and reevaluated research, we hope to spread the word that cholesterol has been very misunderstood. We want to show the new face of cholesterol, one that is not good or bad, but essential to life. So let's go around the room and tell us about yourself. Give us your name and then tell us 3 things. Number 1, what you do for a living. Number 2, if you're a BYU or Utah fan. And then the last book that you read. Great. That's wonderful to get to know everybody, and hopefully you all know a little bit more about each other. So let's dig right into our myth or fact. See what you actually know about cholesterol. So our first one, cholesterol is bad. It gets a really bad rap, so I'm sure you've all heard this before. And of course, it's a myth. Cholesterol is a naturally occurring product found in the body, which is actually made by the liver. It's vital to normal cell function and is the parent molecule for such major hormones as estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and also vitamin D. It is critical to the immune system and the brain. Okay, who's got number 2? Number 2 is high cholesterol causes coronary heart disease. So often we hear the 2 of these things linked, cholesterol and heart disease. Is this a myth or is this a fact? Okay, we have a myth again. The fact is that numerous studies have been done which claim to show a link, but all have been flawed and none have been conclusive. The most influential study of all, the 7-country study done in 1953 by Dr. Ancel Keys, involved a highly suspicious model of analysis in itself, with Dr. Keys removing statistics which did not agree with his ideology. Having taken data from 22 countries, he only took note of the 7 countries whose evidence supported his views, discontinuing the rest. This is the paper upon which the whole cholesterol theory is based. And they've since gone back and with all 22 countries represented the data on a chart and graph. And once it's analyzed, there is actually no correlation found whatsoever. So had it all been published together originally, who knows? Maybe cholesterol wouldn't have gotten the bad rap that it did. Okay, who's got number 3? 3 is saturated fat is dangerous. I think this probably happened to us in the 80s. Saturated fat took a turn for the worse, and I think that we've all thought poorly about it ever since. So, of course, this is a myth as well. And you might be surprised, but there's absolutely no correlation between saturated fat and heart disease. As 2 major studies have recently confirmed, and these studies will be on the notes on your flyer, the biggest issue for the body in terms of fat is where they are from. Raw fats from a healthy natural diet are good. Your body needs those in order to thrive. They even help reduce heart disease. Artificial and chemically induced fats from processed foods are to be avoided at all times. So the type of fat matters, but saturated fat for our bodies is necessary. Okay, let's go ahead and get into some terms so that we can understand all of the measures of cholesterol. Now, to get your cholesterol tested, it is a blood test. And when you take this test, they come back with a panel of numbers. And some of the numbers that will be on there are going to be your total cholesterol, your LDL, your HDL, and your triglycerides. So your total cholesterol is simply your LDL plus your HDL. Those 2 numbers are going to equal your total cholesterol. Now, the LDL and the HDL are actually lipoproteins. LDL standing for low density lipoprotein, HDL for high density lipoprotein. So the lipoprotein is what carries your cholesterol in your blood. Since cholesterol and water don't mix, cholesterol is a waxy substance, right? So it needs this transporter. So the LDL is what carries it through your blood, out to the cells, your organs, any spots that are in need of repair. Okay, the cholesterol goes out throughout your body, riding on these LDLs. Now the HDLs come in and pick up those LDLs that are used and takes them back to the liver to be recycled. This is how people refer to LDL as bad and the HDL as good. But really, there's no good and bad. They're both essential. But you can understand how if you have a lot of LDL in your bloodstream, then you should have a lot of HDL as well in order to pick it up. So the last one is triglycerides. This is actually the extra fat and calories that you eat that the body doesn't have need for energy right away. So you're not being active, you're not doing anything. So they get stored in fat cells. So triglycerides are essentially your stored fat. Okay, so let's talk about what numbers are really important, because gone are the days where just your LDL is going to be a marker that tells you if you have high or low, good or bad cholesterol. Now, the numbers that are used are what's called cholesterol ratios. So we have here your total cholesterol compared to your HDL. So a ratio of total to HDL, and that number should be a 4:1 or less. And then the next one is your LDL to HDL. That should be a 3:1 or less. And then your triglycerides to your HDL, and that should be a 2:1 or less. So, now you can understand you can't get an accurate picture of your risk unless you're using two numbers to get your information and to get your ratio. So I've passed out cards. So everybody has, I think we're working in pairs because we've got 10 of us here. So each of you should have one of these individuals: Linda, Bob, Damon, Fred, and Tiffany. So you have your card there. Go ahead and look at these numbers, and I want you to calculate the ratios for each of these, and I want you to tell me which one of these is at risk and which individual has a low risk. So a high risk or a low risk in regards to heart disease. Great. You guys did wonderful with those ratios. These are the numbers we want to remember, and this is the information that we need to pass on to individuals when we go in for our own tests. And this is where we really want these millennials to go in and get tested while you're young, because more and more people are finding that their cholesterol is quite high and out of balance ratio-wise. So go in, get it done, but go in knowing these ratios so that you can know what your risk really is. Some doctors, they're just not on board with new information, even though this is a guideline since 2013 to use these ratios. So spread that information. Okay, so the last thing we've got here is the basket, and it's going around right now. I want you to pull something out and tell us if you should eat it or avoid it. Well, this has been a lot of fun. You guys have been such a great group. I hope that you've learned something new about cholesterol that you didn't know before. I hope you've been able to toss aside some knowledge that you thought was accurate that now you know is not. And I hope that you'll be empowered to spread this knowledge about cholesterol to those that maybe are old school in their understanding of cholesterol, so that you might be able to help them to live a healthier life. Make these choices of the food choices that we just went around and did. Incorporate more of those kinds of things in your life, and just be prepared to understand your risk so that when a doctor does come at you in regards to high cholesterol and wanting to put you on medication, you can assess your own health and make those decisions a little bit better. Thank you again for your time. You guys were a wonderful group. Don't forget to take your brochure on the way out.